Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Thursday, December 14th, 2017. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can friend up our Last Point Gaming Facebook account. You can follow us on Twitter at Last Point Gaming. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Stranger Sparrow, or you can always reach out directly with an email to lastpointgaming@gmail.com. Man, I got slower. Did you hear that? I had to stop before I got to my personal Twitter tag. Really got to start working on this, man. And then, as I mentioned for the last couple episodes, I have started pushing the cast to the Last Point Gaming YouTube account. And this is to mostly facilitate things for this very nice person in the MTGO Traders daily stream with Taryn. Magic Man's always super nice when I pop in the chat on stream and I'm like, hey everybody, how's it going? Magic Man's always like, hey, how you doing? So it does make it easier for some people to find us, if you don't have a SoundCloud account or a Spreaker account. If you have a YouTube account, you can subscribe to us there, and henceforth they'll be pushing out there. I have to take the time to go push the older casts manually, and yeah, it only took me 6 months to get you guys the link to report judges. So don't hold your breath. But anyway, so there we have it. Welcome to the Rockstar, because, yeah, he friended up our Last Point Gaming Facebook account after the captain did, so it seems like my locals are listening now, and I'm not gonna lie, it still freaks me out. I had talked a while back, actually, about how it's one thing to, kind of scream out into the void and, have random internet people interact with it and be like, I think you're wrong. It's quite another to actually, have to face-to-face have a conversation about things I said out on the internet. But it's good. It'll keep me honest. It'll, keep me thinking about that, I guess. I don't know, I've always tried to keep in mind that, especially when I talk about individual personalities on this cast, that they're real people with, real feelings and everything, and I guess that's what separates me from some of the more aggressive content creators that trash talk and everything else, and I don't know, I try not to be mean. If I have something less than 100% positive to say about somebody, I try to frame it as either something constructive or make it clear that the difficulty I have is me, not them. So, I don't know. I don't know how successful I've been about this, but now I gotta keep that in mind and I guess not trash talk my locals. Not that I ever did. I've mentioned this frequently. I really love our local community at the guild. But anyway, I'm not just gonna keep going over old things to catch people up. There's a whole archive out there. So, GP New Jersey's coming up this weekend. I am not going. Bunch of my locals are, though, so that definitely encourages me to pay closer attention to coverage, because there's always the super exciting chance I might get to see one of them up there. But we did have an interesting back and forth on a thread in the One Local Facebook group today concerning new GP pricing structure. Alright, so the captain shared out a link where you can go check out, I want to say it's the event posted by Channel Fireball for GP Memphis. I doubt any of us are going to Memphis. It's a little outside of most of our travel radius. Especially, it'd be one thing if any of our crew was, frequently caching or something that could make the trip worthwhile, but as we're all still, building up there, Memphis just seems a very far way away from here in central Pennsylvania. Anyway, so $70 gets you admission to the GP, the Mutavault promo, which, thank God Progenitus is done. Did anybody actually want that card? I mean, I hear there's some commander play with it. But aside from that, did anybody need a Progenitus? I know I did not. But Mutavault, on the other hand, widely played card. Decent card. So you get admission, the promo, a life pad, a pen. I think that's it. Then for an extra $15, you can get the playmat, and there was something else, but it was something fairly inconsequential that I'm like, okay, so basically in this scenario I'd be paying $15 for the playmat. Oh, the draft packs? Draft packs for something. I don't know what format it is, so it might be that because I know when we went down to Nationals, technically everybody qualified for day 2. Well, not technically. Everybody was qualified for day 2, period. They weren't doing a cutoff for day 2, but they had announced towards the end of day 1, if you weren't planning on coming back for the second day, which, you know, if you were as in the tank as me and most of the guys were, there's not an incentive to play in day 2 for prizes. If you're there for the love of the game and, you know, like, well, I'm down here anyway, you know, they're definitely a good time to go play for fun and get to play against people that you don't get to play against every week at your LGS. But they had announced towards the end of day 1 that if you were not returning for day 2, you could get your 3 packs that you... Oh, I forgot to use my turn signal. I'm a terrible person. Sorry about that. But that you could get your 3 packs that you would have gotten in the draft for day 2. So, I don't know if Memphis is maybe sealed or what. You know, like what format it is. But I think for the extra $15, that gets you the playmat, and you definitely get the packs for the day 2 limited portion. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't really read too close in. Probably should have if I was going to talk about it, right? And then for $20, I don't remember. You got just a little bit more gap. So you can either pay $70 for the minimum gap or $85 for minimum gap plus playmat. Now again, I get that players who grind a lot of GPs probably don't care about the playmat so much. I do. I understand that. You know, I am a person who I go to, you know, maybe 3 larger events a year. So the playmats are still kind of exciting to me. But if you're a hardcore grinder, I can get, but I had said before about how I can I could see them being like, okay, GP's $50 or it's $45 if you don't want the playmat. You know, just a little savings for people that just already have too many. But instead they just went, oh, well, some people don't care about the playmat? Cool. Not everybody gets the playmat. You gotta pay extra for that shit. So I had said, you know, for $50, and I've talked about this before, for about $50 to go down to an open when the Open Series comes to Baltimore, or a Classic, because lately it seems all the Baltimore Opens are stupid formats. Well, formats that I either can't find a team for, or I barely have a modern deck. There ain't no way I'm getting a legacy deck together. And my locals don't seem to be too into teaming. That's a little bit saddening to me. Actually, I don't know how I feel about the idea of doing a team event. Because, one, if you're like doing really well, you're on top of your game, but your teammates keep losing, that has got to be frustrating. But I'm not sure if that would be better or worse than basically spending 15 rounds losing. But you have to keep going because your teammates are doing well. You're like, great, I'm going to lose again. It's going to be awful and demoralizing. It's going to suck, but we're going to get to go to the next round because my team keeps winning. So I don't know. There is kind of a mixed bag there. I think I'd like to try it out at some point. Maybe once Boo and Bird get old enough. Can you imagine that? Team comprised of me and my 2 kids. That would be fantastic. This may be a life goal now. Oh, when they lights flashing like that, they ain't friends. Who's the cop going after? I wasn't speeding. I don't know. Anyway, until he gets closer, I don't really have to worry about it. So yeah, I had posted on this thread. I'm like, for $50, I get entry, playmat, promo token. And I wasn't sure if they still did the 1 month card. Captain says that they do not. That he is relatively certain they do not. I don't know. I just throw money at them for my premium sub anymore, so. But, oh, that was a sound. So for $50, I get my tournament and playmat and token. I don't get a Mutavault, so that kind of sucks. Or a life pad, I guess. But, shh, husband ordered my present from my Amazon account, so I know what it is. Soon I won't need life pads anymore. But anyway, so, yeah, why wouldn't I just do an open? And, Tybalt pointed out that, there's better prizes at a GP, which that's how they're justifying it. So, okay, fair enough. I think the winner of GP gets Pro Tour invite. It may be more than just the winner to be. I think it may be like the top 4 or the top 8 get the invite, and then some portion of that also get like the airfare voucher, but not all of it. But I'm not positive because, again, I don't ever see myself making the Pro Tour, so I don't pay too close attention to that. Maybe I should. Plus, I think top payout at GPs maybe like 20,000. I know it's a large chunk of change. Whereas top payout for an open, I think, is like 5,000. And definitely no Pro Tour invite, but you do get an invite to the Invitational. So there is more reward on the line for a GP. So if you're playing at that level that, you know, you're looking at, I can spend $50 for a chance at a maximum of invitation to the SCG Invitational, 5K cash, plus my playmat and my token. Or I can play in a GP for $70 for the chance at invite to the Pro Tour and $20,000 cash plus good promo. Just I'll have to pay extra if I want that playmat. I can see where you look at it and go, well, the GP is clearly the better value. For scrubs like me, that the losers bracket is my home and I'm happy there, I would rather just go to the cheaper event that gives me stuff for going. Yay, brake check. Turns out mine still work. So, I guess it does very much depend on where your priorities are and whether you're trying to get to the Pro Tour or you're happy possibly going to the Invitational. I would be super freaking stoked to qualify for the Invitational, especially if they keep doing these meet and greet things. I'd like an opportunity to, like, have permission to talk to all these awesome people from SCG that I watch on the internets. Whereas now I just kind of awkwardly approach them when I see them at events and, like, try not to fangirl as hard as I did at Tom Ross that time that I'm pretty sure I scared him. Yeah, poor guy. I'm the reason he took the job at WotC. No, I'm not. It was like 2 years ago I got to meet him, and I don't know. He seemed to
rejected.
To find me somewhat off-putting. But I did fangirl at him pretty hard, so you know, that's fair. Anyway, so yeah, personally, I would love to get to an invitational. Like, that would be way more exciting to me than a Pro Tour, especially because of where I live. It looks like the invitationals are now, at least the last couple, have been down in Roanoke, so I think that's an indication that the invitational tournaments will always be held at the mothership. And I don't live terribly far from Roanoke. It's still quite a drive for me. I would most likely drive down the night. I'd most likely do it the way we did Richmond, where go down the night before and stay in Roanoke 2 nights, the night before and the night after. I mean, I guess that's kind of the nice thing about how far it is I wouldn't want to be driving back after day 1, even if I didn't make day 2. Because, let's see here, they usually start about 10, it's 9 rounds day 1, so they end around 7. I guess that wouldn't be too bad for driving up. It's, I think, like 4 hours. I don't know. Virginia, it turns out, is a pretty big state. Like, it took us an hour to get to Virginia when going down to Richmond, and then another, like, 3 to go through Virginia to Richmond. At least that's how it seemed. I remember at one point asking if we were in Virginia yet, and I was, like, being childish and sarcastic, and they were like, well, yeah, we're totally in Virginia. We've been in Virginia for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, then why are we still driving? Because Richmond's at the bottom of Virginia. So I don't know. I think it's still about a 4-hour drive. I probably wouldn't want to drive back the same day, whether I made day 2 or not. So that is kind of a nice thing. I know the last time we did the Baltimore Open, like the group of us did it, the captain ended up making day 2, and we drove back up after day 1, and I don't think he was the only one to make day 2. I'm pretty sure somebody went back down with him on day 2. Maybe they went down for the Classic, though, and they drove back down Sunday for day 2. Now, Baltimore's only like 2 hours, but again, when you have to be at the venue by 10, that means leaving here around 8 at the latest if you drive the speed limit and don't break traffic laws. See, I'm one of them people that as soon as I go outside the legal limits, a cop jumps out of a mailbox. I can be on a deserted back road in the middle of the night, not another car in sight, and I'm like, screw it. There's no other cars. I really know this road really well, so I'm just going to kick it up a notch and try to get home a little faster. And yeah, bam, cop jumps out of a tree, base jumps onto the hood of my car and goes, pull over. So yeah, I drive the speed limit, and I also like to not feel rushed, especially going down like Baltimore, where it takes forever to find parking and you've got to park a mile away from the convention center and walk. So I usually try to leave this area around 7. So I have plenty of time when I get down there to find a place to store my car for the day, to get to the venue, and also the Baltimore Convention Center is pretty freaking big, so to find the event within the convention center which means I end up getting up earlier to go to a tournament down in Baltimore than I get up for work during the week. So, but with Baltimore, like, ideally, if I felt I had a good chance of making day 2, I'd want to stay down there rather than have to drive the 2 hours back the night after and then get up early again the next morning to drive the 2 hours down. I'd rather be like 15 minutes away and get to sleep in until like, 8:30. But I don't generally plan on making day 2 because, again, I'm usually by round 4, I am at the last table of players. So, I go down for the experience of it. The more of these events I go to, the more comfortable I get at them. I don't think I could go solo. Like, it's pretty awesome to be part of the community I'm part of, and like, we plan out going down to these events together and everything. I mean, it's always nice to run into somebody at an event. Like, when we went to Baltimore down at the beginning of the summer, I think it was like late May, early June, I actually got to meet 2 of the guys that are on that admin team with me for that one Facebook group. So, like, these guys that I chat with on Facebook a lot, and they're, actually my friends on Facebook and everything. Like, never met them in real life before that, but, got to meet them and say hi and shake hands, and, that's always exciting, but it's definitely not as comforting as, after a round, if I'm, like, feeling shaky, having a hard time, I look for the captain, who, by the way, 2 of the guys that I go to tournaments with are over 6 foot tall, and I can never find them. Like, what is up with that? It's always the, like, short guys that I can find. Like, putting a headlamp on the captain next time, or, like, making him one of the Sims headpieces so he stands out a little better. But anyway, it is pretty awesome that, like, I get to go down with a group. That also means I usually don't have to drive down to these events, because poor Elsa is a cursed car. I'm convinced of it. And I am just really afraid to, get down to Baltimore and discover there's some problem with my car and have to deal with it down there, or, like, just not something I want to deal with. But at least, Roanoke is far enough away to justify booking hotel for the night before and the night after day 1. So that if I make day 2, I can go play it out. And then there's usually, I want to say that oh my God, why traffic? Why? I hate this time of year. I hate this time of year so much. Just because all the people are out en masse, with holiday shopping and everything, and it just drives me nuts. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so I think the Opens are usually they're 13 or 14 Swiss rounds. I would say it's 13. And they play the first 9 day 1, and then day 2, it's the last, if it's 13, 4 rounds, if it's 14, 5 rounds, before going to top 8. So, if I made top 8 of the Invitational, that would be exciting enough to deal with the fact that I would, be down there so late and have to drive back so late. But the likelihood of that happening, not huge. So again, we're talking event starts at 10. 4 rounds is 4 hours. Getting done there at 2, driving back up, home shortly after normal dinner time. So yeah, I would be totally stoked to qualify for an invitational and get to go down. The only thing is I'd have to hope that at least one of my normal travel group was also qualified for said invitational, and we could work all that out. And that I'm not horribly confident in, because a lot of my group not so much into the SCG series. I get it. That's fine. It's fine. Also, IQs aren't really that prevalent in this area. I guess there's a store in Lancaster that does them a lot. But depending where in that area that's like a 45-minute to an hour drive for me. And again, tournaments that mean I'm going to be gone all day it's a little rough on the husband, because then he's stuck with both the kids on his own, and they're usually actually better behaved when there's only one parent on deck, but it's just kind of not fair to ask of everybody. It's another one of those things that, like, once Boo gets a little older and, if she keeps playing and she gets her focus down more and gets more into the game that she'd want to play at that level, we can go and do these things together. But I think it's going to be a little bit till she's there. Again, right now, it seems to be her main enjoyment is that she gets to go to the shop with me and hang out with the guys and everything. And Magic's kind of just an aside. And honestly, 3 weeks out of 4, that's what F&M is for me. I got kind of used to winning, so winning is inherently more fun than losing. But for 2 years, I went with 0 round wins every week, but I went because I enjoyed the atmosphere, I enjoyed the people there, and it wasn't about the win. This is my social life. That may sound a little bit pathetic, but there you go. So hopefully, I'm hoping she does take that kind of interest. I was actually showing her coverage. They did some kind of vlog thing with that little girl, Dana. She's the 8-year-old that goes to GPs and plays Magic competitively, and she's usually cosplayed as Nissa. I was showing her Boo clips of her and everything, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's so cool, and that girl's so much younger than me." And I'm like, "See, you can focus." And she has aspirations to make it to the Pro Tour. I told her about Rio and Austin in the last Invitational, 2 of the youngest top 8 competitors ever. Oh. That awkward moment when you drive past the fire station and the alarm starts going off. And Rio was 13, Austin was 15. And she's like, "Wow, 13, that's not that much older than me." And I'm like, "Yep, you gotta focus more." So, personally, I would love it if she got more into that level. Just because it does open up me being able to go to these events too a little more, because I feel less bad, letting husband and Bird at home to have their own adventures while Boo and I go off, because at least then we're still at the 1 kid, 1 parent ratio. Just right now, her focus is, I really would worry about putting her in a competitive REL event. Just because, some of the guys let her get away with stuff at the shop that just wouldn't fly. Oh, there's a bus in my way. Yay, didn't hit the bus. So, so that's where that's at. If I can understand seeing more value in the GPs if, you are a player of the caliber that you actually have to be concerned about the fact that the prize support's better at a GP. But aside from that, I'll probably keep grinding the SCG events, but only when they come to Baltimore. So, that's all I got for today. I really need to get my structure back, my schedule, but I gotta figure out what I'm doing there. But anyway, as always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.